In what is fast shaping up as one of the more fascinating races of the midterms, the Republican chair of Georgia's 14th district has a stunning warning that there are too many candidates in the race to replace Marjorie Taylor Greene and, quote, we could end up with a Democrat as our congressman. With no party primary to narrow the field, the March 10th special election will be a 21-candidate free-for-all, and 16 of those candidates are Republicans, making an April runoff very likely. Jim Messina is back with us. Sam Stein is managing editor for The Bulwark and an MS Now contributor. Let's remind folks, Jim, Greene won her district with 64% of the vote in 2024. But is this a real opportunity for the Democrats?
It absolutely could be, Chris. And you look at kind of what's happened in the 26 elections in legislative races around America since Donald Trump became office. Democrats have won all 26 flipped seats. In Texas this weekend, or last weekend, in a state Senate election where Donald Trump won by 17 points, the Democrat, who was badly outspent, won by 14 points. That's a 31% swing. We've just never seen numbers like this. And so if I was the Republicans, I would fear this. Should Marjorie Taylor Greene's seat be in play in a normal election? No, that's a rock-ribbed Republican seat. But the fact is there's something moving out there. And partially it's led by Donald Trump's own numbers. You know, his numbers on the economy are now underwater by 18 points and on cost of living by 29 points. And voters use these special elections as a way to send a message to the president. And their message they're sending right now is they are very unhappy.
Well, Sam, the Atlanta Journal-Constitution actually reports interviews with more than a dozen Republicans across the district show a party on edge, worry that Georgia's fast-moving contest, voter fatigue, lingering unease over Trump, and most of all, a fractured GOP field and a strong Democratic contender could put even this seat at risk. How do you see it? And I wonder if you think this anxiety is reflective of how Republicans are feeling even beyond Georgia.
Well, there's definitely anxiety that extends well beyond Georgia. Jim's right. All these special election results, including the most recent one in Texas, have shown that there's a wild disparity in terms of voter enthusiasm. Part of it is because if you are a Republican right now, what are your motivating factors, right? You hold power federally. The economy is not going as well as you thought it would. The main issues that Trump is emphasizing are immigration and cost of living, and neither of those are trending in the right direction according to public opinion polls. So Democrats are more motivated. Tends to be the case when the parties in the other when the person in power is from the other party. But the other thing here is to look at, especially in the Marjorie Taylor Greene seat, is to look at what's happening on the Republican side of that. How do primaries get decided? Really, it comes down to who does Donald Trump want? Who will he give an endorsement to? And so if you're a candidate out there and you feel like you can just be as pro-Trump as possible in a primary, you have as good a shot as anyone to earn his endorsement and catapult you to the top of the race. It's not a surprise to me that you see, like 20 or so names on that list, because every one of them probably thinks if they just can get the attention of the White House, if they can do enough to curry favor with the administration, maybe Trump will bless their candidacy and they could be the nominee.
Is it that simple, do you think? I wonder in this, mood that people are in, Jim, is that all it's going to take is Donald Trump putting his finger on it and saying, this is who should win?
Well, Sam's right. Republicans typically wait to see who Donald Trump wants. His numbers in Republican primaries, people he endorsed, are pretty spectacular. Now, he endorsed in the Texas race, and it turns out he endorsed the wrong person, and, the Republicans lost. But if I was a Republican, I'd be doing exactly what Sam was talking about. I'd try very hard to get Donald Trump's endorsement and hope that it didn't come back to bite me in the general election.
Sam, as Republicans grapple with anxieties, House Speaker Mike Johnson is expressing what he calls concerns over voter integrity. This is what he said.
We had 3 House Republican candidates who were ahead on Election Day in the last election cycle. And every time a new tranche of ballots came in, they just magically whittled away until their leads were lost. In no series of ballots that were counted after Election Day were our candidates ahead on any of those counts. It looks on its face to be fraudulent. Can I prove that? No, because it happened so far upstream. But we need more confidence in the American people in the election system.
I want to be clear. We're showing the headlines here. Study after study shows there's no risk, no known risk in mail-in voting. There's no fraud. But to Johnson's first point, Sam, is a poll being wrong evidence of fraud?
No, of course not. And honestly, that was one of the more irresponsible statements from a Speaker of the House that you can possibly make. He's putting an unnecessary, irresponsible level of doubt in the integrity of our voting system and our elections. And he's wrong. First of all, he admits that he doesn't have any evidence, but just decides to posit the theory anyway. But also he's wrong. For instance, during the same election cycle where the California ballots came in increasingly Democratic after Election Day, they came in increasingly Republican in Arizona. If you recall, Ruben Gallego in his Senate race with Kari Lake started out with a pretty wide gap, and it narrowed, and it narrowed, and it narrowed. Now, Gallego ended up still winning, but it did narrow. So this is what happens sometimes. Now, keep in mind, Mike Johnson also is, or was, the person who was leading the amicus brief by the state of Texas to challenge the 2020 election results. So this is somewhat par for the course for him. But he is now Speaker of the House. He has a duty to uphold the integrity and faith in our institutions, including the House of Representatives. And it's not terribly hard to imagine a hypothetical in which the Trump Justice Department, around the midterm elections, starts investigating and raising concerns with how ballots are being counted in certain blue states. And because the questions, I'm putting this in air quotes too, around those elections are lingering into the next Congress, the Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, does everything in his power to not seat members until that stuff is sorted out. I don't think it's irresponsible to paint that hypothetical because both Trump and Mike Johnson are now talking about it explicitly.
And we know how long Mike Johnson can wait, weeks and months, to swear in somebody who legitimately won an election.